Welcome to Mad Cat English. Today's lesson is an introduction to the present perfect, expressing how long using for and since. My name is Maria and I'll be your teacher for today, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm originally from Chicago, but I moved to Seattle in September 2010. So if we put this series of events on a timeline, and we think of where I am now, and 2010, which is in the past, we see that I moved to Seattle in 2010. That is something that started in 2010, and it is still true up until now. So I can say I have lived in Seattle since 2010. This basically means that I started living in Seattle in 2010 and I still live here. So we use the present perfect here to express something that began in the past and is still true now. So here's a brief reminder of what our present perfect looks like. For affirmative statements, you have your subject, the present form of have, and a past participle. Please keep in mind that for regular verbs, your past participle is formed simply by adding ed. However, for irregular verbs, your past participle might be completely different, as in these four examples with spoken, flown, gone, and eaten. You simply need to memorize the irregular past participles. For negative statements, we use not in between have and the past participle. You can also use the contraction haven't or hasn't. Just keep in mind if you use no one, the negative is actually with no one. So your verb has remains in the affirmative. So again, when we take a look at the present perfect, we see this is something that started in the past and is true up until now. For example, I have lived in Seattle since 2010. We use this form of the present perfect to express how long something has been true. So because we are expressing how long, our information questions usually begin with how long. So for our answer, you can say, I have been here for 2 months, or I have been here since September. We just want to be careful when we are using the present perfect to express how long. Do not use when. When asks for a specific time in the past, which means you would use it with the simple past, not the present perfect. So it would be incorrect to say, when have you moved here, or when have you lived here? You can say, when did you move here, with the simple past. Or if you want to use the present perfect, you use how long have you lived here? So now let's take a look at when we use since. When using the present perfect with since, make sure to use a start time, or the time an action began. So you can use this with years. For example, I have worked at NSC since 2011, or they have lived in Taiwan since 2006. We can also use this with months. We have lived here since May, or she has known him since January. We can use this with weeks. He has gone to bed early since the first week of school, or I have worked on this since last week. Can also use this with days. I have been sick since yesterday. I have been busy since Monday. And times. I have sat here since 10 a.m. and she has been at the restaurant since 7 p.m. Now, we can also use this with clauses. So I have studied Spanish since I was in middle school, or we have worked together since the quarter began. We just need to notice that when we use a clause, we need to use the simple past in the since clause. All right, so now let's take a look at when we use present perfect with for. Now, we can use them with the same types of indicators, but we want to notice that this time we're giving the length of time or the duration of time. So with years, for example, we see he has lived in Everett for 2 years, right? We don't give a specific year. Instead, we give the number of years. Also, I have lived in Seattle for 4 years. Same with months. You give the number of months. They have been married for 6 months, or she has only worked here for about a month. Again with weeks, it's the same thing. You give the number of weeks. He has had a cough for several weeks, or I have been in Paris for 2 weeks. Days. They have been angry at each other for 3 days, or our business has been open for a few days. Hours. No one has spoken for hours. The bank has been closed for an hour. Minutes. I have been on hold for 20 minutes. We have been ready for about 30 minutes. Now, sometimes we can also use time expressions. They have been in love for forever, or we have known each other for a long time. I have worked here for a while, or she has loved to dance for as long as she can remember. All right, let's try it out. We want to take a look at the following 6 sentences and think, do you complete them with since or for? All right, let's check. Number 1, I have lived in this town for almost 8 years. My son has loved to play soccer since he was 5 years old. I have had this painting since last October. Marcy has been a yoga instructor for a while now. I have worked out every day for the past couple of months. My dad has made Sunday brunch since I can remember. All right, let's try it out some more. Please answer the following questions using the present perfect in either for or since. How long have you lived in this town? For example, you can say, I have lived in this town for more than 5 years, or I have lived in this town since September 2010. Now, these 2 sentences are true for me. You want to choose either an amount of time or a start time that is true for you. Number 2, how long have you known your best friend? I have known my best friend for almost 30 years. Or I have known my best friend since we were freshmen in high school. Again, these are answers that are true for me. You want to give answers that are true for you. And number 3, how long have you enjoyed doing your favorite hobby? I have enjoyed social dancing for more than 15 years. Or I have enjoyed social dancing since the late 1990s. Again, these are answers that are true for me, including my favorite hobby. You want to give answers that are true for you. Okay, now that we've had a little practice using the present perfect, let's check our knowledge with some editing. We want to correct the mistakes using the present perfect and either for or since in the following sentences. Number 1, I have enjoyed watching baseball since a long time. The correct way to say this is to change since with for. So I have enjoyed watching baseball for a long time. Number 2, my daughter has wanting a dog since she was 5 years old. The correct way to say this is my daughter has wanted a dog since she was 5 years old. We need to remember to use the past participle with the present perfect. And number 3, we have need a new computer since the beginning of the term. The correction here, we have needed. Again, we need to use the past participle with have. And number 4, they have started a business for 2 years. The correct way to say this is they have owned a business for 2 years. We also need to be careful about the nature of the verbs that we choose. You cannot start something over a period of time. Instead, you can own something over a period of time. So that's why we need to change the main verb. And number 5, Chen has loved listening to music for he can remember. The correct way to say this is since he can remember. We need to remember to use since with a past time clause. Okay, that was our brief introduction to using the present perfect to express how long something has happened using either for or since. Again, my name is Maria. I hope that you liked this lesson. If so, please like it and share it with your friends. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below or send me an email at madcatenglish@gmail.com. And until our next lesson, my own Mad Cat Brow Brow and I wish you mad English.